out there. Let's go ahead and I'll convene officially the committee of the whole meeting. Tonight we have really just one item on the agenda. It's a capital budget prioritization and budget status update. It looks like Kelly Beamer maybe, or?
Yeah. I'm Jan Hahn, Administrative Services Administrator. I'll kick it off. Tonight discussion focuses on the general government CIP and transportation CIP projects. The CIP projects that are for enterprise funds, such as the golf course, the airport, the utilities, are included in your packet, but we are not planning to go through all those projects tonight. They will be brought back as part of the ongoing budget discussions, though, at a later date. It should be noted that this is a preliminary preview of the projects that are being considered. There are obviously more projects than there are dollars available, so this is not the proposed budget. This is simply a preview of some of the potential preliminary projects, and we're here to get your feedback this evening. With us tonight will be Kelly Beamer from the general to speak to the general government CIP, and Greg Zimmerman to speak to the transportation CIP projects. So with that, I will turn it over to Kelly Beamer.
Okay.
Thank you, Jan. Thank you, Jan. Council President Corman, council members, this is Kelly Beamer, Community Services Administrator. Thank you for the opportunity to present the preliminary 6-year capital plan. I'd like to start off with there's quite a few staff in the audience. They did an extraordinary job putting these projects together where they focused on what council priorities have been and consistent with council priorities. We focused a lot on safety and then also on existing parks and facilities, buildings, structures, and property to keep them maintained at a safe level, and also keeping efficiencies in the forefront as we went through the process. As council has the packet in front of you, I'm going to walk through the packet at a high level, so please, at any time, if you have any questions on detail, let me know. Please stop me at any time. We're going to focus on the 17 and 18 projects primarily. When we turn the page and there's a secondary prioritization page that Parks did just to demonstrate the level of detail that we went into to look at the different projects within major project categories. And if council would like at another time or later this evening, I can definitely go through what that meant and why we were looking at that. Also, as you know, within the community services capital plan, our customers are both internal and external. So we focus again on what council priorities are, and then we look at surveys, we listen to the public, and we look at the needs of our customers in the community. We've also put into place some placeholders. So not knowing yet if we'll be receiving grants that we've already applied for, those are placeholders there, and we'll address those as we walk through. So if council is okay with me proceeding, we'll start with page 1.
Yep, please.
Okay.
Thank you.
We'll start with Coulon Park maintenance and repairs. Obviously, Coulon Park is our most popular park, barely highly used. It's nearing 50 years old at this time, which is fairly amazing. We are going to be concentrating again on the safety and infrastructure projects. Council's probably aware of some of the structural issues that we've had down near Ivers, Kidd Valley. We've got some areas marked out through our structural analysis and survey. There's some areas that need some repair and attention. Those are high on our priority list. As well as adding LED lighting for efficiency and just better lighting in the park, parking lot repairs, and then additional items we've prioritized out for the 19 and 20 budget as well. Moving to page 2, we have Parks General Major Maintenance. These are, again, addressing safety and maintaining our existing assets. We've identified Cedar River Trail and Tiffany Park playgrounds to be renovated. 2017 lighting upgrades to Kiwanis Park, again, safety related. And then shoreline bank stabilization near Jones Park. I'm sure council has seen that there's an area of the lower walk on the south side of the river that has been cordoned off. So there's some currents that's been deteriorating the bank. So we are looking at stabilization for that as well. And then also, we are looking at, the Fletcher property that we purchased, the city purchased near Cascade Park or adjacent to Cascade Park, will have a little bit of upgrades to that as well. Next, on page 3 is the new Sunset Park. Moving forward with the Phase 1 development, which is scheduled for 2017, and as council is well aware, we brought forward the master planning process and the design. I believe we're coming up on 60% design. The city did receive a $1.7 million grant, and we do have carry forward money to work through the Phase 1 portion of this. This would include the installation of a new restroom, also a pergola and central patio area, and also regrading out the site and installing turf and irrigation. And then Phase 2 would move forward in later 17-18. The request right now does not include the potential funding that staff actually was down at legislature this morning applying for a grant, and then we have another one coming forward next week as well. So additional sources we have is King County levy money and then also mitigation money that we would use. Next on the list is paths, walks, patios, and boardwalks. What we've proposed for 2017 is the ADA walkway or path from Union Avenue up into Kiwanis Park. This is a very needed pathway. Currently from Union is a stairway, a fairly steep stairway, and then a steep, not quite ADA compliant walkway into the park. So this is, would assist and help with that access. And then also there's, for 2018, we've identified from the library heading downstream under Bronson Bridge, there's some pathway upgrades that need to be done for safety as well as a little bit of upheaval happening. Moving on to item number 5 is the Philip Arnold Park improvements. Again, our request moving forward is relocating the play area at Philip Arnold, putting in new play equipment, also connecting the pathway from the play area to the picnic shelters, and then also removing the old abandoned restroom. There's 2 restrooms out there. We would be removing that building as well. And then moving forward in 2018, we're putting in a placeholder as an alternate site. Councilman Person is well aware of and has noted in the past some of the issues that we've had at Ron Regis Park with it being in the floodplain and then having to go through new surveys for that. So staff has identified that the potential of a synthetic turf field should be in the south west corner of the park, could accommodate a synthetic turf area, and it's very highly programmed as it is with football and soccer practice and things. So that's a potential, barring what we find out from our surveys and our floodplain analysis for Ron Regis Park. Moving on to number 6 is tree maintenance. This is the urban forestry program, which is within community service, the community service department. And this is a department or division that maintains trees citywide. So this addresses high-risk trees, things that for safety reasons that would need to be removed. Also sidewalk and right-of-way improvements where there's tree root upheavals that need to be repaired. And then we also have money identified for the for contracts in case there's emergency needs, especially during inclement weather times, winter, when we get broken branches and trees that come down that need immediate removal. Moving on to number 7 is the grant matching program. The City Council has annually appropriated funds to the Community Services Department for any unforeseen development or acquisition opportunities, things like you'll be aware of the May Creek area where we've had faucet property purchases, and also to leverage grant dollars that the city may acquire. With this being said, there's still the approval of council with each of these items to move forward if we were to use those funds. Moving on to number 8, limited term capital project coordinator. This was approved in 2016, and now we're requesting to move this forward to 2017-18. This is to replace what used to be a capital project coordinator position back in 2005. And now with all the projects, we have one capital projects coordinator for parks. And to be able to address these projects and follow through with council's vision, our projects are becoming backlogged, and it's a highly needed area to have a limited term capital projects coordinator in there. This, it would be funded through the capital projects, through the CIP fund as it moves forward. So next is Parks, Recreation, and Open Space Plan. This was a 6-year plan. It will expire in November of 2017, and we'd like to move forward with re-emphasizing this plan. This would just be an update. The last time we went through it was a major overhaul. So this would identify future needs, policy implementation, and strategies for the livable community. This is also critical for the eligibility for local, state, and federal grant funds. So this is definitely a high need. Next, number 10, Trails and Bike Master Plan. This is also in partnership with the Transportation Division. Requests the funds that move forward to finish this plan. We're going through the selection process and scoping process with the consultant right now. This also weighs into grant eligibility for both Parks and the Transportation Division. Elements that would be included in the new plan would be things like the East Rail Corridor trail system that would be coming in. Move on to number 11, sport court repairs. Again, this is addressing safety items. So it would be resurfacing, patching, restriping the courts. The city has 17 tennis courts and 13 basketball courts in our park system. So at times, obviously, these need to be upgraded. We've identified the bocce ball court at the senior center for 17 to be repaired and that surface to be replaced, actually. And then Cannondale Lions basketball court for 2018, where there's alligatoring and severe cracks, and then that would be resurfaced and restriped. Next, number 12 is the Ron Regis Park Athletic Field expansion. And as I mentioned earlier, staff's currently reviewing the floodplain mapping and survey to determine if the expansion and or improvements could happen. We are looking at completing the utility upgrades, which is the restroom installation, bringing in the water and sewer from across Maple Valley Highway and into the park. And then we believe that the restroom facility would still work within the floodplain. So if it's deemed that we're on that borderline, we still think that would work. And those construction, they're carry forward funds for 2017. For number 13, it's the Piazza Master Plan and Redevelopment. This is the re-master plan Piazza Park, the former Big Five site, and the downtown event center, which we're calling the Downtown Civic Core. This is also to establish more of a cohesive park, allow more events, be able to do potentially celebration streets and event streets so that we can cordon off areas and actually hold events. So if you've been obviously down to the farmers market, it's difficult to get booths in and around the way the park is designed right now. So the consultant on board would be looking at listening to community needs, and then we'd be coming forward with the plan at that point.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Mr. Prince?
so on this one, I thought that before we got to this point, we were going to have a community process to figure out what we wanted this area to be.
That's correct. And so in 2017, that's what we were right now going through the scoping process with the consultant.
But you're saying, I see in here, unless my eyesight's going bad on me, cohesive park venue.
Pardon me?
It says cohesive park venue. And I'm wondering what kind of public process if we had to determine that that venue is going to be a park.
That's a good point. It still has not gone through the public process, so it's not been identified for sure that it will be a park.
I would
We can
change that. I would change that language.
Absolutely, we can edit that. So it is identified in 17 for the public process, and then in 18 would be the design and construction documents moving forward. And then 19, the potential of construction depending on funding. And we'll make that edit to that. Thank you. Number 14 is ball field renovation program. This is where periodic major maintenance is needed for ball fields. to, again, help with increased playability, decreased staff time for field prep, and also just maintain the safety issues. We have identified Liberty Park 1, which we call Little Liberty. The outfield has many depressions in the turf, so we would be pulling back the turf, adding some drainage, fixing irrigation, and then adding more topsoil, and then regrading and resodding again to make that a safe, playable area. And then in 2018, we've identified covered dugouts for several of the fields, including Philip Arnold, Liberty Park, Highlands Neighborhood Center, and Kennydale Lions fields. Number 15, parking lot and drive repairs. This again is just maintenance to resurfacing, seal coating, curbing repair, restriping for city parking lots and facility and municipal sites. 2017, we've identified the senior center that needs some parking lot repair. And then in 2018, we're looking at Kiwanis parking lot, again, alligatored and starting to pothole. Irrigation, renovation, automation, and conservation is the next page. This is replacement of existing systems with more efficient systems, so we're looking at better coverage. We're not overwatering in areas that are not turfed areas, and then also looking at the water, reducing water consumption with more efficient systems. And again, we've identified Kiwanis Park. The turf area is a very highly programmed area with football and soccer and other activities from recreation. Next, we have the transportation landscape improvements. We found through the last couple of years that there are some transportation projects that the grant funding does not allow installation of irrigation, or that it would penalize the point system if the transportation department was to put that in the plans. So this is to preempt that and allow the city to install irrigation during the construction process versus contracting a water buffalo to come in afterwards and water plants to make sure that the survivability stays until they're established. So again, this is a preemptive process for that. And Logan Avenue is actually one of the first projects. The first phase was one of the first ones, I believe. Is that Greg? Yes. That irrigation was not included in. We've had to contract water maintain that. Capital project coordination. This is the reimbursement to the general fund for the Parks Planning and Natural Resources Director salary. So this has been in the budget for 7 years now, I believe. And then we're going to move out to items that aren't necessarily in project-based, although the King County Levy Fund, we receive funds, the 6-year levy will receive funds through 2019. We do receive a small increase from 17 through 19 from $197,000 annually to $207,000 annually. And these, they're pretty generous funds where we can use them for maintenance and capital projects and things like that. So there's some criteria, but it's pretty wide open. The Springbrook Trail missing link is exactly what it says. We're waiting to purchase property to complete that link, and we've moved this project out to 2020. Black River Repairing Forest, we've recommended moving out to 2019. This is the area that contains a heron colony, and we're looking at installing an interpretive center there and addition of soft surface trail and viewing areas. And again, we've reprioritized this for 2019. Maplewood Community Park, this is located up in the Maplewood Heights area. This is still in King County ownership. We're also recommending to schedule this out to 2019 for master planning with the potential that it may transfer into the city at some point, but currently, like I said, is King County property.
Excuse me. I thought the county had committed to giving us that park at one point, and I'm going back in history, I guess, but.
My understanding is they would like to give us that park, but they have not given us any funding to maintain or upgrade, which is why we're waiting for that right now.
I can understand that.
There's a few parks out there that are still King County.
Pretty bad shape.
Yes. Habitat enhancement is number 23. These are funds that are used to improve our natural areas, also to try to stop the invasive or control invasive plants, and then also for the habitat monitoring that comes with some of our projects where we required mitigation. So currently, there's areas like Riverview Park, which with the bridge installation, we've got mitigation included in that. May Creek area, as well as the Cedar River Gabion area from Bronson Bridge down to Logan. And then Integrated Pest Management Program, we've reprogrammed out to 2019. The city does follow pest management best practices, but we don't have an official program in place. So the thought is, or the goal is, to hire a consultant and out towards 2019 and establish an official program. That concludes the parks portion of capital. We do have one that, the downtown wayfinding, which is led by CED and will be a project from CED. This is also being reviewed through the Downtown Civic Core planning process as we move forward with the consultant. Recommended project or signs will come forward to council for approval once that's been discussed and recommendations have been brought forward.
Very good. Any questions by council at this point?
Okay.
Carry on.
Okay, so we'll move on to the facilities portion, this, which should be number 27, the Fire Station 15 construction. Community Services came forward with Renton Fire Authority last week to present the current progress of where we're at, provided an update to council. This is an agreement through the Regional Fire Authority that the station will be built. We have identified 2017 for design and construction plans, and then 2018 for the construction of the fire department, or of the Station 15. And again, we presented this to council last week, so we will continue to bring forward progress as we move forward with the project. Number 28 is a limited term capital projects coordinator for facilities. Currently have the limited term project, capital project coordinator in place. This person's been critical for the fire station the fire station project and construction. So again, there's only one other capital projects coordinator within the facilities division, and this is a much needed position to continue not only this project, but several other projects citywide to make sure that we're staying on time and providing a good project moving forward. Number 29 is the citywide security system upgrades. This has been on our capital agenda for a few years now, and this is a continuation of that, where we will be installing high-quality surveillance cameras, which also have recording capabilities. And they're so high quality that they have facial recognition from a very extreme distance. So we are able to deter vandalism and theft, graffiti, those kind of things that we've been able to identify some of the criminals, if you will, through this process.
Mr. Corman?
Yes, Mr. Person?
I think this is one of the most important projects that we have in the capital improvement plan. We've solved a homicide with it. We have solved, I know, at least one rape case with it. We also, the young lady that had her throat slit at Safeway, they were able to apprehend that person because we have these cameras.
That's correct.
That's right.
I don't think $99,000 a year is enough. I think that should be up to about $150,000 a year.
Good input.
Just as a suggestion as your.
Yeah, good idea, Don.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
And we have noted for the continuation of this project, we would be moving a little bit higher quality cameras within the city garage, specifically also down at Coulon Park, which is obviously a very high use facility. And then the facilities park shop on Williams Avenue, as well as the park shop on Bronson Avenue too. Item number 30 is the City Hall elevator modernization. The elevators are original equipment from 1987, which have been, as of the last 8 months to a year, been experiencing several breakdowns, and we're averaging at times at least one a week. Because of the age of the components, they're becoming obsolete now, so our repairs are Band-Aiding, if you will, and we can't replace one car, which was my question. Why can't we just replace one car? You have to replace the actual controlling system and then the cars that go along with that. So you can't have one operating on an old system and one on a new system. So it's recommended that we move forward with that. Number 31 is a Senior Activity Center HVAC replacement. Our facilities team has replaced 2 of the units. The other remaining 3 units are averaging from 27 to 36 years old, and also, again, have been in need of frequent repairs and they're not energy efficient, nor are they providing the needed use for the patrons of that facility, so we're recommending moving forward with that replacement. 32 is a citywide building condition assessment. This is a new item we brought on. Again, as you can see with some of these items, we have aging buildings and deferred maintenance projects through the years. This would be an assessment done by a consultant to give us the life expectancy of components and building infrastructure and helping our facilities team to itemize out when those replacements or repairs would be needed and the best option to move forward with those. Number 33 is the Senior Activity Center kitchen appliance replacement. We've tried to come up with the longest descriptions possible, by the way. This is a kind of a spin-off from the complete kitchen remodel renovation. Through council's recommendation and prioritization, we'd be looking at the Renton Senior Activity Center was built in 1979, and the majority of that kitchen equipment is still original equipment. So we would be looking at replacement of ovens, flat tops, dishwasher, mixers, those items. They do Monday through Friday senior lunches for 75 plus people weekly, as well as external rentals to customers for weddings and meetings and awards and things like that.
Mr. Corman?
Yeah.
This again is one that I'm ultimately aware of, and it was going to be about $1 million
Yeah.
remodel down there, but this is a very good compromise, and for anybody that building is really, really used not only for the senior lunches, but for a lot of other community activities. So this is one that I feel is very,
Yeah.
very important.
Well, I thank you for the advice on this, and also Armando. I think I think you guys had great suggestions that knock this to just 15 or 20% of what was proposed, I guess,
Yeah.
because it doesn't need the big addition, if I remember correctly.
No, doesn't need what we.
That's correct.
So, that's terrific. I mean, I think it's about time. So
Yeah,
good.
definitely. Like to get
That'll
to.
happen next year, it sounds like, or that's the plan?
That's the plan for 2017, yes. Back to the senior center again, and item number 34 is the banquet room improvement. We did have to defer a little bit of this money, or actually use some of this money originally from 2016 for the roof repair. What's left from cost savings we requested to carry forward to 2017, but the ceiling tiles have been having issue with the glue, so we'll be reestablishing a thermal surface plus or not a thermal surface, but a different type of surfacing material plus a kind of a cover that goes on top of that to ensure the tiles remain in place and it's a nice looking ceiling. And then we'll also be establishing new LED lighting, which definitely, if you've been in the senior center, the drop down old style lighting does not work for, again, back to the community events and all the other things that happen in the senior center. Number 35 is a City Hall lobby remodel. As you know, the volunteers in the original configuration are kind of back in a cubby hole. The lobby remodel would be moving them out to more of a reception, welcoming area, working on the lighting as well. We'll be fine-tuning our approach with the funding on this. Originally, it had included a different type of vestibule because the passports were processed down there, and now we've moved that up to the third floor, so we'll be looking at fine-tuning that a bit. And this project also includes some minor modification to the mayor's office entryway for 2017 as well.
Mr. Corman?
Yeah, Mr. Person?
Just a comment. When they redesign that, will look at putting the owl back out in the center somewhere so that people can, it's a relic from the old city hall, and everybody used to be between the elevators, and people would always touch the top of it, and they kept it all polished, and now it's off in the side where people can't see it.
We could
A little bit of
definitely,
nostalgia is all that
Yeah,
is.
good idea,
we could definitely work with that.
good idea.
Item number 36, we're going to remove this from the capital agenda here per finance, actually today. Renton Police will be presenting this to to council next Monday, the 15th, as a separate project, so this is removed off of our capital project agenda. Item number 37 is City Hall carpet replacement. Again, this is original carpet since the city has occupied the building, which was back in 1998. Although we've cleaned and maintained it as best we can, there are multiple high-traffic areas that are showing extreme wear. Our staff's looked at being able to do the project with all the cubicles, desks, everything in place. The contractor can actually come in and lift up everything and install the carpet without having to remove things out of areas and put them back, which cuts the cost down tremendously because it's less labor. We're recommending that we coordinate this project to happen in a year's time versus over a period of time. Again, because of the amount of carpet that we purchased, it would save the city significant amount of money to do it in a one-shot time frame. Next is 38 Public Works Sign Shop expansion. The signal shop is in need of expansion. It's definitely increased its workload and needs a continuation of added equipment for new high-tech equipment, as well as a second work bay. We've gone through the preliminary design plans and are ready to move the project forward through construction document phase and then in construction. But again, this is the signal shop has been definitely moving forward with a higher workload, and this would be another needed area for staff. Number 39, community services, maintenance shop, rehabilitation, or rehab, with the deferment of building the combined maintenance shop that was slated several years ago. And we know that will be deferred out much farther than what was probably originally anticipated. The facilities areas are in need of repairs and upgrades. One of the shops in the lunchroom doesn't have a sink or anything to, when they prep food or anything, they actually have to go to the restroom to use that water. There's also carpet and lighting and furniture that we've used, more hand-me-down type furniture, so that, these would be the upgrades for the three facilities. Number 40, police substation east remodel is the police department's direct enforcement team, which is in the east end of the parking garage, the downtown parking garage. With the original installation of the DET team in there, there was not as many officers as predicted moving forward. This is expansion that is needed to add new workstations, painting, carpet, and reconfiguring the area so that it can fit the additional officers in there. Again, this is planned for 2017 as the police department increases its staffing level, or actually probably gets it back to a sub-staffing level and then moving it forward. Number 41, City Hall fourth floor improvements. There is currently about 3,600 square feet of unused, unoccupied space on the fourth floor. The remaining portion is tenant occupied right now. The city is looking at, with the expansion of city staff, this is an area that can be repurposed and upgraded. Small upgrades to the fourth floor could accommodate quite a few staff personnel in there, so we're requesting that we move forward with, there's some things to separate the existing tenant with city staff would be security doors, some fire doors, things like that, and then cubicles and planning for staff. Number 42 is the Kenyon Dobson Park. As council knows, the city assumed ownership of this park last year in 2015. This project would would approve ADA parking, a small area for parking, ADA trail access to existing park property, and then also some upgrades to the existing house that's on the property. And then also an interpretive center would be part of those upgrades as well. Number 43 is maintenance division asphalt replacement. Public Works has noted that from the front gate through to the back gate, as well as some of the load areas, asphalt's about 30 years old and is starting to show some extreme wear, alligatoring, breakdown in the subsurface, and then also looking at potential potholes and things. They're asking to be able to bring a contractor in to grind the asphalt, work on the subsurface, and then re-asphalt those areas. This also saves on the wear and tear in equipment. If there's heavy potholing and things like that, it jars the heavy equipment pretty good. And then lastly, for facilities is request from the court clerk acoustics project. The customer service counter there, because of the offices that are in the back and the old speaker system up front, it's almost unworkable in a way where that's the customers and the clerks that are almost having to yell at each other back and forth so you could actually hear over the work that's going on back behind. So what we've proposed is a new speaker system and a new LexGuard type of glass screening, which is similar to what's on the first floor of the police department, so that's still secure but better acoustics for the customers and for our clerks. And that's slated for 2017 as well. And with that, that is the end of the general governmental capital projects.
Mr. Corman,
Yeah, Mr. Person?
are you going to be talking about the golf course in a different section of this, or, because I know it's a enterprise fund?
Yes, as what Janet noted earlier, the enterprise funds will not be addressed today, but they can be brought forward another time if council would like to review those. Is that right, Jay?
Well,
Yeah, I think we have time, if, whatever the council's preference is, we were going to give you an introduction of the TIP, and if you'd like, we can move in, or if you want to take a minute and talk about golf course, we're certainly willing to do whatever you'd like. As Jen said, I think particularly the pipe utilities, we want to do some more work on financing and that before we bring those back to you, but the golf course, if there's a specific question, we can absolutely take that.
I guess the only reason I ask that is a little history lesson for those that haven't had the big tour. When we bought the golf course, the golf maintenance facility was an old house, and if you went out there, you could actually see holes in the floor right down to the ground. We were able to get rid of that, but we replaced it with about a 30-year-old temporary trailer that was a fire station from up on off the Benson. And that's got to be, at least we did that about 10 years ago.
Approaching 10
I
years,
guess
yes.
pretty much 10 years. And, you know, the people out there are fantastic workers, and they put up with a lot, but I think we need to get that into the mix of following through with the promise to build something better than that as the years go on.
Yeah, and that's correct. That will be and is identified in the long-range plan. Currently with the bond matured and paid for at the end of 2015, we'll, as we start replenishing the reserves and building those back up again, that is one project that's definitely identified. Most of the capital projects for the golf course are small major maintenance projects, not a lot of development yet, but taking care of the existing facility and the existing maintenance that's needed.
So in other words, if I understood what you said, so that is in the plan, but you probably wouldn't recall when it would happen.
Knowing where we need to, the projects that we need to address immediately, we would be pushing that out probably till 2020.
Okay.
Potential planning in 2019 to 2020,
Yeah.
and then.
And
but-
to Don's point about it as an enterprise fund, that would be something that the golf fees and the revenues raised out there would pay for.
That's correct. All of the capital is funded through the golf course revenues.
And just as a clarification, I don't golf, I've never golfed, and I never will golf, but I think people should have a decent facility.
Yeah, and
We would love to take you out on the golf course, council members.
Yeah, good. Great question, Don, and boy, I want to thank you, Kelly. That was a great pace, a lot of information presented. I think the council ate it up. It was really well done.
Thank you.
She sets a high standard, so for the other department heads that come along, so. Yeah, exactly. Greg, leave it. It's all over for you, Greg.
You know, for Greg, it's the fast part.
Yeah.
Okay,
that was
thank
really
you very much.
terrific presentation, yeah. And also, you know, to me, I mean, it's impressive, I think, how much of this we see through the course of the last, like, year or two. I think the council is familiar with most of it, so it's kind of a summary. I'm sure that's why we don't get more questions, because I know we've seen a lot of the information before, so.
Yeah, I'm just gonna set it up right here so I can point at that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I should sort of stay cognizant about the time. So are we going to work through the whole, this whole group of projects tonight? Is that the plan? It's 180 or so? Is that right?
We have, I was just going to cover the transportation capital projects today.
Okay.
And work a little bit later on at a different meeting on the utility capital projects and the airport capital projects. I think
Okay.
that was the plan.
Okay.
And so what I have is, out of the 32 or so transportation projects, I'm going to focus on the 26 that have expenditures established for the biennial budget,
Great.
2017
Great.
and
Good idea.
2018, rather than go through the whole list, which includes projects farther out in the 6-year TIP.
Okay.
So I think that'll make it go a little bit quicker, and it will also focus on projects that we'll be doing work on in the biennial budget.
Okay.
So that just seemed to make a little bit more sense. Jason's handed out some maps that show, just small maps, that show the location of these projects. I thought what I would do, street projects, unlike facility and park projects, are all over the city, and they don't have any big iconic thing near them, so sometimes it's hard to know where these projects are. So as I go through the 26 projects, I'm going to point out the location on this map, and then you can, I think, you know, many of you are familiar with where the projects are, but if you aren't, maybe it'll help show you exactly where these projects are located, because we have projects throughout, pretty much throughout the city that we're going to be working on.
Yeah, terrific.
And so I'm going to start out on page 51 of your packet, and that has a listing of the 36 transportation improvement projects, of which I'll be going through 26, and it shows the proposed funding for the projects. Wanted to say a couple of things about that. The CIP budget for 2017 for the transportation projects, you'll see at the bottom of the page, is about $12 million. This is on page 51. And right to the right of that, the 2018 list shows only $3.9 million. What happens with the biennial budget is that the projects in the second year typically aren't completely funded because we still haven't gone through all of our grant applications, we haven't gotten all of our contributions from other agencies, and so what's going to happen between now and 2018 is we're going to, the intention is to have about $11.7 million worth of projects in 2018 rather than that 3.9. But we'll come back and bring that through the council at the mid-biennial budget update, and then right-size the second year of the TIP. So some of these dollar amounts for 2018 look awful small, and they haven't all been entirely identified. And this is typical. This isn't different than any other biennium. This is, we have to identify down to the dollar the projects in the upcoming year, 2017. But the second year out, we need some time to do the grant applications and get our money in order. So I just wanted to make sure that was clear as we were going through this. Because of that, some of the numbers that I'm going to mention when I talk about these projects are higher than you'll see in this chart for the second year, because we do intend to fully fund the projects in the mid-biennial budget adjustment.
Yeah, thanks
So
for
that's
explaining
kind of how that will work. As a reminder, the main sources of funding for the Transportation Capital Project, very little of it is general fund, as you know. We use the vehicle fuel tax, we use the business license fee, and now the business and occupation tax as well supplements that. We use fund balance from the 317 account, which is made up of those funding sources. And we use grant funding, of course. That's one of our main sources of money. And we also use what we call other funding. And what that other funding typically is contributions from other agencies. For example, the Department of Transportation, WashDOT, is going to give us about $2.3 million as part of the turnback agreement for State Route 900 when that turnback agreement gets completed. So that money will be used to work on upgrading and maintaining 2nd and 3rd Street. And we also have direct developer contributions. We have one of the projects I'm going to be talking about is being paid for entirely by a developer, but I'll get to that one. And so the other includes other funding sources. So we do every once in a while use general fund. You'll probably recall that the project we're just breaking ground on now, Sunset Lane and North 10th in the Sunset Highlands area, is heavily funded with general funds because we didn't have a grant for that project. It wasn't really eligible for a grant because of its location. So occasionally we resort to general funds, but that would be among the other sources of funding. But by and large, these projects are not funded by general funds. They use these other funding sources. And every once in a while, we even issue bonds for a transportation project. We've only done that once since I've been with the city in 26 years. That was the bond issuance for the roads around the landing and also Southwest 27th and Strander Boulevard. Those two projects were built with bond funds. But other than that, we use bonds for utilities, but very rarely for transportation projects. So that's a little bit of background on the funding sources as I go through the individual projects. The main change from the last year's 6-year TIP are the securing of numerous grants. And I want to mention to you that we're going to be back in front of the council on September 12th, and we're going to be bringing you the 6-year TIP from 2017 to 2023 on September 12th. It's intended to bring it to the Utilities Committee, the Committee of the Whole, and also have a public hearing for the TIP all on that date. So you can look at this as a preview of the TIP presentation.
Yeah, Mr. Percy?
The TIP usually goes to the Transportation Committee, not the, I think you said.
Not the Committee of the Whole, or maybe it goes to both normally? or-
In the past, I think Councilman Person's right, that it has gone to the Transportation Committee. We thought that it might be a good idea, because of the size of the expenditure, to also bring it after the Transportation Committee to the Committee of the Whole, but of course, that's at the council's discretion.
You know, I think if you're going to present it in here as part of this, then it could just go to Transportation Committee and probably wouldn't have to come back to
Okay, we can
us
certainly do
unless
it that way.
anybody feels different.
Okay.
And,
Um,
well, we've stopped you. I wanted to understand is there any linkage between the project numbers on the map and the project numbers in here?
I'm glad you brought that up. In that chart on page 51, then the projects are numbered sequentially on the left-hand side, but it has nothing to do with the TIP number. So if you're trying to find on your map the projects based on those sequential numbers, they're not the same numbers. So as I go through these projects, I'll mention the TIP number and show it to you where it is on the map, so that'll help you identify it if you want to see where these projects are.
Okay. Mr.
How did you pick the sequence? Is it an internal priority, or is it just that you're presenting?
I know, it looks like it's all over the map, doesn't it? What happens with the TIP numbers is originally they were numbered, and some projects get delayed, and then some other projects being brought forward, and you get grant money, and pretty soon it gets all out of sequence.
Okay.
So the numbering is is
Like
entirely out of
jersey
sync with sync.
numbers on a sports team or something.
Right, and we typically don't go back and renumber it because that might even add to the confusion.
Right.
So the numbers, the TIP numbers, look somewhat random because of that, but it's all based on the time frame where the project was put into the plan.
Okay.
And the time frame that we obtained grant money and we built it. And over time, it's really jumbled up the numbers.
I'm sorry, Don, yeah.
Well, I think there's two sets of numbers here. One shows a project number and then a priority number.
Right.
And what has happened over the last few years is that everybody thought that the numbers on the left-hand side were the priority of getting projects done. And the council, basically through the transportation committee, says, well, hold it, there's these other projects that the public has approached us for and we would deem more important. So the council actually sets the priority based upon the information given, and funding is one big priority. So I think this is important to the council, and as you look at it, that if you see projects here that you think are super important and have a priority, you should let us know.
Sure.
And then, because like always, we bring it back to the council and the council adopts it, so.
Good.
But that becomes the council's priority.
Good, yep.
So that's an exercise we'll also be going through with this new TIP. The TIP has in it a sheet that shows the council's priorities from last year. That can always be adjusted, and there's also new projects. So that exercise will be part of the TIP presentation. Unfortunately, this column you see on the left on page 51 is a third set of numbers. It's not the priority and it's not the TIP number, it's just the sequential list. So for purposes of the TIP and so forth, those numbers, they're going to help us walk through today's presentation, but other than that, they're not relevant to the project numbers.
Thank you.
Okay, so I'll start out with page 52, which is also listed on the top right-hand corner as Project 1, and we'll work through the 26. This project is the Northeast 31st Street Bridge replacement. It's TIP Project 36, and it's located at the far north end of the city here, if you're looking at your map. The Northeast 31st Street Bridge, sometimes called the May Creek Bridge, was built by King County in 1990. This project will replace the existing bridge, which is now structurally deficient over time. A grant in the amount of $1.2 million from the 2014 bridge federal funding was awarded for the project, so that's most of the money that we'll be using to build that bridge. And the total bridge budget is $1.5 million, and it will be built in 2017.
Finally.
The second page, page 2, is the North 27th Culvert Scour Repair. That's TIP Project 37. It's this project up here in the Kennydale area, number 37 on your map. That's that bridge was built as part of the Clover Creek development in Kennydale. A new street was constructed over Kennydale Creek. And the bridge that was built by the developer 16 years ago is showing some signs of scour. It's got some spread footings. And we feel in the bridge inspections that we need to do something to make sure that the scour doesn't start undermining the footing. So that's what this project about. We've secured a grant in the amount of $481,000 from the Federal Bridge Fund for this project. The whole project is about a $500,000 project, and it will be built in 2017.
Very good.
Project number 3 is the street overlay. Because that tends to be all over the city, it doesn't have a location on the map. We've got various streets that we do with that. That project is funded at $995,000, proposed to be in 2017. You'll notice that we're looking at significantly increasing the amount of money we put toward the overlay project. We've had a consultant look at our street conditions and our pavement management, and it's become clear to us that we're going to have to invest more money on pavement overlay and arterial rehabilitation than we've been doing in the past. So starting in 2017, it's going to be about the same expenditure level that we've usually had, which is about $1 million, but we're going to be looking at ways to ramp that up so we can cover more streets and not let our condition index fall below where it is right now, which is about 72 out of 100, which is pretty good, but we don't want it to fall any lower, so we need to invest more money in that project.
Mr. President,
Yes, Mr. Prince.
what number did you say that was on the map?
That's not on the map. It's not shown because the street overlay is kind of spread all throughout
all
the
over.
city, so it doesn't have a specific
Okay.
location.
You've got me so addicted to looking at the map.
I'm sorry about that. There's a few projects that are like that are just kind of global projects that don't have a point on the map. This is TIP number 1, though, in the 6-year TIP book. So what we do with that project is we grind and overlay the streets based on their condition, and we also install ADA curb ramps because that's a federal requirement whenever you overlay a street. The next project, number 4, is another one that's not shown on the map because it's all over the city. It's the arterial rehabilitation program. The difference between this program and the overlay program is the overlay program concentrates on residential and collector streets. The arterial rehabilitation program concentrates on the larger streets, the arterials and the bigger streets. Because the projects are usually significantly different, we've got them broken into 2 programs. Once again, you'll see that we're proposing $530,000 in 2017. Actually, some of the money from this account is used to match a grant for a PSRC grant. So we're going to be spending more than $530,000 in 2017 because of that grant match for one of the projects. But in 2018, we're going up to $1.2 million. And we also intend to increase the expenditures over time on the arterial rehabilitation fund for that very same reason. We want to keep our street pavement level above an OCI index of 70. The index for pavement goes from 0, which means it's in terrible shape, to 100, which means it's a brand-new street. 70 is pretty good. It's a good serviceable street. You don't want to get down into the 60s and 50s, though. So we need to make sure we invest sufficient funds in our overlay program to keep the streets in good shape, and our rehabilitation program. The match we use the money for, by the way, is on the Duval project that we're breaking ground on now. Sometimes we use money from these accounts. We have to pay grant matches to secure federal grants. It's usually about 20%, and we have to move around money in order to do that. That's the Arterial Rehabilitation Fund project, and it's TIP number 2. Project number 5 is preservation of traffic operation devices. Once again, it's not on the map because it's all over the city. This is traffic signals and traffic control devices throughout the city. This project is an annual project. We're funding it at $62,000 a year. It's been a project we've been doing for many years. And it replaces failed or failing traffic signal, vehicle detection loops, and video detection. The program also provides for the replacement of signs and obsolete, faded, poorly located, or no longer appropriate equipment. So the amount of repairs we have to do on the street signal system and the sign system at times goes beyond what our maintenance budget is, and this project fund helps us to pay for the larger expenses. So that's $62,000 a year. Project number 6 is bridge inspection and repair. Again, it's not on the map because every 2 years we do a formal inspection of every bridge in the city to make sure. That's how we discovered the scour and that Clover Creek Bridge on 27th. So that's a federal requirement, so that we make sure that if a bridge is deteriorating, it doesn't get away from us and collapse or fail. because we're structurally looking at it with a consultant every 2 years. The cost of that project has been about $50,000 a year, so we're proposing to maintain that at that expenditure level. Then increase the expenditure level out in the out years beyond 2018, but in 2017 and 18, it'll be $50,000 a year. Project 7, which is the Sidewalk Rehabilitation and Replacement Program. We have 2 sidewalk programs that I'll talk about real briefly. This one is funded at about $100,000 a year, and this money is used to replace or repair existing sidewalks. The other program is for new sidewalks, but this one is for existing sidewalks. The maintenance shops actually manages these projects by and large. The program provides for the removal and replacement of existing curb and gutter, sidewalks, and curb ramps where such facilities have deteriorated or have been damaged. And as you'll recall, we recently brought through you and got approved a revision to the sidewalk maintenance code. And now we're going out and talking with homeowners associations and neighborhood associations and working with them on some bad sidewalks where we will remove the sidewalk, replace it. We work with them on removing some of the trees, because most of the problems that happens with existing sidewalks is inappropriate trees were planted years ago, the roots heave up the sidewalks, and it caused tripping hazard. So the Honey Creek Ridge Homeowners Association, we just finished a very successful project that the Homeowners Association is happy with, where the city came out and replaced the sidewalks and helped with, through the arborist program, helped remove some of the trees as well. And the Homeowners Association is happy with that. I'm foreseeing with this new sidewalk maintenance policy that we're going to be doing more projects like that, working directly with homeowners associations and using some of this money to jointly improve the sidewalks. It seems to be a pretty productive approach to it. So this is, as I said, $100,000 a year, and it's TIP number 21, but it's not on the map because it's another global project. The next project is number 8. This is the Maple Valley Highway Attenuator. We've been meaning to fix this problem for a number of years, and we have it budgeted in the budget for replacement in 2018. The location of this project, it's TIP number 22. It's on the Maple Valley Highway here. It's what we call the half bridge on the Maple Valley Highway. It's an existing concrete barrier and located eastbound. It's right east of the Riviera Apartments on Maple Valley Highway, and it keeps getting hit. It's one of these. It's got a protective barrier that drivers come around the curve and they hit it, and it has to be replaced. So we want to redesign it and build a new concrete barrier there that will be extended westerly about 400 feet, make it safer for drivers, and make it so that we don't have to repeatedly go out there and repair the attenuator on that bridge. So that's a it's a $181,000 project that we intend to get started on in 2018. Project number 9 is roadway safety and guardrail program. That's a kind of a modest project that we have. It's an annual project. We use $15,000 a year to change damaged guardrail throughout the city. And we propose to keep on moving forward with that annual project. It's TIP number 24, again, not on the map because it's one of those global ones. The next project is, skip ahead to project number 13, because the intervening 4 projects are not being done in 2017 and 2018, so I won't talk about them today. So if you skip forward to project number 13, it's the Main Avenue South Downtown Circulation Project, and we've been doing a lot of talking about these projects. It's the projects that we're doing hand in hand with the downtown neighborhood plan and the intention to revitalize the downtown. Of course, the first one of these projects coming out of the chute is the Main Avenue project that we intend to start breaking ground on in September, converting Main Avenue to a 2-way street. The next project in the list is Wells and Williams, all the way from Grady up to north, across the river, all the way up to North First Street. And that, again, would convert those two streets from one-way street to two-way streets as part of the two-way street conversion. We've secured a grant of $3.8 million, a PSRC grant to do that. And $600,000 of that we intend to spend starting in 2017, starting with the design of the project, and then $1.7 million in 2018. So that's really phase 2 of the Main Avenue, of the downtown circulation projects that we're doing. Eventually, we want to work at converting South 2nd and South 3rd. That's a little bit down the road from now, but we're consistent with the revitalization program. We're also putting in the infrastructure that it needs to make it effective.
That's exciting. Did you have a comment?
No, I'm good right now.
Very good.
Okay, and as I said, Phase 1 is the conversion of Main Avenue South, and that was paid for by a $1 million TIB grant. Phase 2, which is a $6.3 million project, is Wells and Williams, but we have $3.8 million of that. We have to secure some more funding to make that project whole. And that, of course, it's shown on your maps. We didn't show it on the larger map, but it's down here in the downtown area. There's kind of a dotted line on your maps around the area where we're going to do the revitalization projects. Okay, project number 14 is Duval Avenue Northeast, Northeast 7th to Sunset Boulevard Northeast. Duval is another multi-phase project that we're doing in pieces because it's such a large project. We've already broken ground on the part from Northeast 4th to Northeast 10th, which is basically going to be an overlay with some radar speed signs in it and some enhancements for crossings and so forth. But we're going to do much more than that. The widening of the roadway, including new pavement, curb gutter, sidewalk, streetlights, storm drainage, channelization, and bike lanes from Northeast 7th to the intersection with Sunset Boulevard is some of the future work we're going to do. We're going to continue to work that whole corridor in phases. The city was awarded a TIB grant in the amount of $3.5 million in 2015 for roadway construction between Northeast 10th and Northeast 12th. So that will be the next phase. Right now we're working on Northeast 4th up to Northeast 10th. That next phase is a more expensive phase because it's not just overlay. The condition of the street was so bad there that we have to do a whole reconstruction on that phase. And then there'll be another phase beyond that. So we're continuing to rehabilitate that street through phases. The amount of money that we'll be spending in 2017 for that second phase that I just mentioned, which is between Northeast 10th and Northeast 12th, is about $4 million. It's a good-sized project, and we'll be using that $3.5 million grant to pay for most of it. That's TIP number 6 on your map, and it shows the whole length of Duval that we were rehabilitating. Multi-phase project. The next project we're actually expediting. It's the Park Avenue North Extension project. It's project number 9 in the TIP, and it's shown right here. It's the extension of Park North, and eventually we'll curve around and connect into the Southport project and run through that and give a second point of access, not only to Coulon Park, but also to all the South Lake Washington development that's happening there. And we're seeing that when the offices come on get built, we're going to need that second point of access. So we're expediting this project. This project, as I said, will extend Park Avenue North to the north of Logan to provide access to Southport, the Puget Sound Energy, Shuffleton property in that area, and the Boeing Company. And we've pulled this project forward. We're proposing to expedite it, to get to work on it, putting $250,000 in the budget, which is a change in 2017. It's a change in the TIP, so we can get to work with the design and the planning of the project, because as soon as those offices in Southport get built, we're going to want to be pretty well advanced with this project. So.
Terrific.
Then the next project is Project 16, It's the Northeast Sunset Boulevard State Route 900 corridor improvements. It's shown on your map it's TIP 12, so of course it's this whole corridor we're talking about along Sunset, which is the State Route 900. The project will seek to address pedestrian, transit, and bicycle needs, adding bicycle lanes and improved pedestrian facilities. The corridor needs a series of key improvements along the length of it to improve traffic flow, such as channelization, traffic signal modifications, signal treatments, possible queue jumps for transit as we introduce more transit along that corridor. It's a long-term project. The overall cost of it's about $33 million over the next 10 years, but we do that in phases as well. We're proposing to spend $1 million in 2017 and another $1 million in 2018. This project, the piece we're going to be working on is in the Harrington area to support the Sunset Highlands redevelopment project that's going on right now, so that'll be the next piece that we do. We have secured an STP grant of $1.3 million to help us get started with this. So we're going to be working on the design and planning for the project. As a matter of fact, we're doing that right now as we go through the next couple of years. Project number 17 is Rainier Avenue South, Phase 4. Seems like all of our big arterial projects we're doing in phasing, and that's for affordability purposes. We just, as you know, you just can't afford to build the whole thing at once. This project is number 7 in the TIP, and it's shown up here, right here, Rainier Avenue, extending north of the improvements that we already did. So Phase 4 of the improvements will extend the improvements from South 3rd Street, which is the north terminus of our last project, and bring it all the way up to Northwest 3rd Place, which is adjacent to the airport. The project elements include sidewalks, widening with streetscaping. We've got some pretty poor sidewalks along that street, a lot of root heave, so it'll make it much safer for pedestrians. Adding pedestrian scale illumination, adding pedestrian actuated traffic signals, and other upgrades. We have a STP grant in the amount of $2.6 million was awarded in 2014 for the design of Stage 4. So we're going to be getting into the design of that project. Project 18 is Hauser Way North, North 8th Street to Lake Washington Boulevard. That's the project, 17 is right here, where Hauser Way connects with Lake Washington Boulevard, and right now, as you know, it's a one-way street in the north portion. You can just go south on it. This project would convert it into a two-way street. We're going to put some focus on that particular project and the priority of that project as we move forward into the TIP. There's a lot of considerations now. There's situations that have changed with that, all of the development that's happening, the bypass traffic that we know that's going up north on Lake Washington Boulevard. So we want to look very closely at this, at the modeling of this, and make sure that that we're all in agreement about the priority and even the advisability of moving forward with that project. So we'll be talking more about that project in the coming days. It's right now we have $815,000 that we were going to program for 2018, but as I mentioned, we'll be sharing viewpoints on that project as part of the 6-year TIP process. Okay, the next project that skip all the way ahead to project number 23, and it's the Lake Washington Boulevard, Park Avenue to Gene Coulon Memorial Park project. This project is located, it's number 33 in our TIP. It's right in this area, in the vicinity, right between the Coulon Park entrance, this Coulon Park Southport entrance, all the way down to Park Avenue, where Lake Washington Boulevard connects with Park Avenue. We're going to convert that into two ways in both directions in order to accommodate the additional capacity need caused by the Southport development. Right. That project in its entirety is being paid for by SECO, the Southport developer. So it's going to enhance the turning movements, and it's going to give us two-way traffic in both directions between the entrance point and Park Avenue intersection.
Excellent.
Next project is, skip a couple of pages up to project number 27. That's intersection safety and mobility program. Again, this is one of those annual projects that we do every year. It's kind of citywide. The program will install new traffic signals or make improvements to existing traffic signals identified by the traffic signal priority list. This is the program we use to install new traffic signals in the city. The one along South 156th Street, for example, the traffic signals that we've installed associated with Hazen High along Sunset and so forth, that comes out of this program. So we prioritize areas where traffic signals are needed. $250,000 used to pay for a traffic signal. Right now, you need about 2 years of accumulation of that to pay for a traffic signal. So we're doing a traffic signal every 2 years rather than every 1 year, just because the cost has gone up so much. But we think we're pretty well keeping up with it, so we're proposing to continue the funding level at $250,000 a year for the new traffic signal program. That's TIP number 25. Again, it's not on the map because it's throughout the city. Project number 28 is the traffic safety program. That's another annual expenditure. It's $60,000 a year. It's an ongoing yearly program for special small-scale traffic safety improvements identified and require material, labor, or equipment. This program includes providing material for railroad crossing upgrades, converting school zone signs to electronic operation, that type of thing. It's kind of a miscellaneous potpourri fund that takes care of small projects that are a little bit too big to be paid for in our maintenance budget, but don't require their own large capital improvement program. So we draw money from this fund in order to pay for those projects, and that's about $60,000 a year. Project number 29 is the Lake to Sound Trail development. As Kelly mentioned, we are in collaboration with, in cooperation with Community Services on trail projects, and we're also working to get grant money and to design the major trail projects. This is one of them, the Lake to Sound Trail. It's a project, it's TIP number 19. This section of the trail right here near the Black River area. And it's a joint partnership between Renton, SeaTac, Tukwila, Burien, and Des Moines. The intention is to connect the Lake Washington with this trail all the way to Puget Sound, so several cities are involved in participating in it. The project received a CMAQ, an air quality grant, in the amount of $800,000 for the design of the Phase A that we're talking about, which is from Natchez Avenue Southwest in Renton to Fort Dent Park in Tukwila. So that will be the phase. The actual construction manager, project manager of the project is King County, but we're participating with it. So it's a nice regional trail project that we're all working on. The next project is project number 30. It's Lake Washington Loop Trail, another trail project. I think you're all familiar with this one as well. It's a project that will construct approximately 1.3 miles of pedestrian and bicycle facilities to complete a gap in the Lake Washington trail system. It's actually going around the airport here. It's that project. We have $952,000 programmed for the project in 2017 and $1.14 million for the project in 2018. So we secured a lot of grant money for this project, several grant funding sources. We got $346,000 from what's called a TAP grant, a non-motorized STP grant, $575,000, and a pedestrian and bike grant for $426,000, and another STP non-motorized grant for $1.7 million. So we've got a big accumulation of grant money to complete this trail, and we're moving forward on it in the next 2 years to get that trail built. We're pretty far advanced in the design. Next project is 31. It's a rather small project. It's called Barrier-Free Transition Plan. What that really means is sweeping throughout the city and removing curb ramps at streets that are not built according to the ADA accessibility standards. We have an obligation, like the other cities do, to make sure that all of our street crossings are ADA accessible, and this project focuses on those crossings. We do that with various projects. All of our overlay projects, as a matter of fact, the federal mandate is whenever you do a pavement project that includes an intersection where there's a crosswalk, you're mandated to upgrade the crossing to ADA accessible crossings. So it's actually a good program. It's a little bit costly, but it's a really good program. So this, we supplement that program with this particular small project, $30,000 annually. Next is project number 32, the walkway program. This is the second sidewalk program I was mentioning to you. The first one was more of a maintenance program. This sidewalk program is a missing link program. A lot of the older sections of the city, the developments did not require that sidewalk be built adjacent to the property. So we've got a lot of missing links throughout the city. We have our sidewalk comprehensive plan prioritizes those missing links, prioritizes them on how close schools are, on accident counts, that type of thing. And by the order of priority, we build these missing links over time. And this is a $250,000 a year program, so we are continuing to go forward with that funding level to keep on installing sidewalks that install missing links to improve safety and pedestrian accessibility. That's TIP number 20. Again, it's not on the map because it's a citywide project. Project number 33 is arterial circulation program, $145,000 annually. This program provides for the short and long-term planning and traffic analysis required to evaluate upcoming transportation improvements. So we do a lot of our evaluation of what's being needed to be done in the future using funding from this program and consultant studies. That's TIP number 31. Next is, we've just got a couple left here. Project number 34 is project development and pre-design, another annual program. This program performs critical activities for development of future CIP projects. It's, and helps us prepare grant applications for getting our grant money. So we use this program to help us acquire grants. It's $115,000 annually. Then, next project is number 35, Intelligent Transportation Systems. This involves upgrading our signal systems to make them more automated and to talk to each other better and to provide on a system-wide basis better movement of traffic. Intelligent signal control is what it really is. And we've done some intelligent signal control programs along Rainier Boulevard and other places. We're installing some along Petrovisky, and it really opens up capacity of the streets by coordinating the signals better. So this is $30,000 a year annually, which is really not enough to do any large projects, but it helps us with preliminary studies, and then we do grant applications for the larger projects. Next and last program is number 36. It's the 1% for the arts. It's the set-aside we do from our design and construction funds for eligible projects. You may recall that many of the grant-funded projects do not allow us to use money for art, just like they don't allow us now to use money for landscaping irrigation. You lose points if you do it, and if you lose a few points, you don't get the grant in the competitions. So for the projects that are eligible for this, mostly the ones that don't get the big federal grants, we've got this 1% that we use off of the value or the cost of the design and the construction. And that's typically about $15,000 a year. So that's the projects that we'll be talking to you next month about in the upcoming TIP, getting your prioritization and also your comments on things that you'd like to see in there as we move forward.
All right. Well, Greg, thank you very much. Great overview. Lots of great work your team is doing. Any questions or comments at this time from council? Okay, so that'll go to Transportation Committee. And I think this is probably a good place to wrap this up.
Right, Mr. President, I think, again, there's a lot of information before you tonight, and our attempt is just to try to get this to you as quickly as we can. As Jan mentioned earlier, still preliminary. We haven't finalized the mayor's recommendations that will be coming to you in the form of the budget, but there's enough information. We wanted you to at least have it and hear at least an initial preliminary summary of what the information is, and then we'll look forward to your continued input as we move forward.
Okay, good. So, any other business anybody wants to address? All right, with that, I'll adjourn the committee of the whole, and we'll reconvene in about 30 minutes for the council meeting at 7 o'clock. Thank you very much.
Thank you.